ACC Championship Game going down in Charlotte at Bank of America Stadium. This one's going down on Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. It's the Clemson Tigers versus the SMU Mustangs. It's the Mustangs' first year in the ACC, Mason. They said, we don't need money. We don't need none of that stuff. Just let us in. Just let us in your conference, please. And very first year, Mason, they go undefeated in their conference. Obviously, their only loss coming to BYU earlier this season, which is not an ACC opponent. So, therefore, SMU undefeated in the ACC their very first season. Congratulations to the Mustangs. 1985 was a long, long time ago, but it seems like it's been about that long since SMU has been relevant, definitely to this extent in the college football world. Clemson, on the other hand, Mason, it hasn't been a Clemson fan's dream this regular season. 9-3, lost to Georgia, lost to South Carolina there, and lost one other game. I'm trying to. Why is it blanking on me who it was? Anyway, Clemson has lost 3 games this season. Only 2 of them there, only 1 in the ACC. So it's been a I would say a run of the mill season for the Clemson Tigers, and that's how spoiled this program has been over the last few years. Because 9 wins and going to the ACC championship, that's just kind of run of the mill for this program, and it really goes to show you what Dabo Swinney has built up there over the last couple of decades, or decade and a half, or decade, or whatever, however you want to put that, however long he's been there. It's been a while now. SMU has got a hell of an offense, Mason. I'm super impressed with Jennings. Jennings has just done an incredible job at the quarterback position for SMU, and he really is the heart and soul of this offense. He as he goes, this team goes, specifically how the offense goes. They're going to score points. The over-under is set pretty high on this one. What was it set at? I think I forgot to mention that at the top of the show. 56.5 is what we had the other day. SMU is favored by 2.5 in this one. So obviously, Vegas anticipating a high-scoring game. It really sucks that RJ Maryland isn't going to be able to be in this game, right? He went down earlier in the season with an injury, and that definitely kind of puts a little bit of a damper on things for SMU. But the show must go on. Everybody's dealing with injuries at this point. It's next man up, and that's big boy college football, and that's what SMU is a part of at this point. So next man up, please. And SMU has done just fine ever since he's went down, but a big game like this, a microscope will be on it. Clemson has been much better offensively, I think, this season versus where they were in 2023. Cade Klubnik has really kind of he's come on. He's gotten better. Are there some things that he leaves to be desired? I think so, a little bit. But we've seen progress. He's not just somebody who's flatlined, since he's been at Clemson, like a DJU or something like that, where it's just like, all right, we're not seeing any progress. Cade Klubnik's done a lot better protecting the football this year and knowing where he wants to go with the football, down in and down out, to best benefit the team. And it showed statistically. It showed on the field for Clemson. I feel like it was a better season, a more consistent season this year than what we saw last year. The wide receivers, I still feel like leave a little bit to be desired. Bryant Wesco has been a breath of fresh air this year. It's been kind of a rebuilt wide receiver room for Clemson and a bit of an experiment. There's been times where I feel like it's been better, and there's been times where I feel like it's you still got some questions. Number 0 there on the offense, he certainly has left his print on this offense throughout the season, and expect him to be able to be an X factor in this game at the wide receiver position as well. How healthy is Phil Maffa? This Clemson offense is really not anything if they can't run the football, Mason. We know Cade can jump out of the pocket and run it. We know that. But we need somebody, a battering ram such as Phil Maffa, to be able to turn around, hand that ball to him, and watch him work. He's a really, really good running back, very, very physical. How physical is he able to be in this game? He's been dealing with some injury, right? Like a lot of running backs are at this point in the season. SMU has been good at stopping the run, and so that's what concerns me with Maffa. right? If he's not able to go at 100%, which I doubt he will be 100%, you're hoping for maybe 90 or 95, right? But 95.91 rushing yards per game allowed by this SMU defense so far this season. That's really, really solid and top 10 in the country there. So you see what Clemson has produced offensively, 195.27 yards per game rushing the football. Got to figure out a way, I think, to get to 200 yards to be able to win this game. I think because you got to be able to dominate the time of possession, things like that. Play some keep away from this SMU offense that's been so potent, like we talked about. Um, what are your thoughts here, Mason? SMU has been subject to giving up some passing yards. 236.09 is their average per game this season. That's not good. Clemson has averaged 274.6 offensively. So I would think that this would probably give the nod to Clemson, probably going over 300 yards passing in this game. And therefore, like I said, I think it all depends on SMU's rush defense versus that Clemson rush offense. And I really think that has a lot to do with painting a picture on who's the winner in this one.
Yeah, absolutely. When you look at SMU and their game plan, I don't know that you have to really study the film a whole bunch, because we just saw that the blueprint to beat Clemson is with a good running quarterback, and that's what Kevin Jennings is. Now, surprisingly, when you look at the efficiency rating or ranking, whatever you want to call it, Cade Klubnik is actually a better runner this year than Kevin Jennings, which is kind of surprising for fans who aren't as plugged in. But make no doubt about it, I think that Kevin Jennings needs to give his best Lenore Sellers impression, and SMU is going to have a real chance at winning this football game, which is not easy to do. I get it. Lenore Sellers looks like one of the best quarterbacks in the league right now. I totally get that. You're asking a lot from Kevin Jennings, but I think he's capable. We've seen it throughout this season, and albeit it was against lesser talent, this is the only the second top 25 team, at least by the college football playoffs current rankings. This is only the second top 25 team that SMU has played, and they lost to BYU earlier in the year. So can they play up, and can they continue their dominance as they play up against a tougher team? We'll have to wait and see. But I think the blueprint is there. Having a running quarterback gives them the upper hand, and also having Brashard Smith, who probably doesn't get enough attention. I think if he can kind of do his Rocket Sanders impression, then SMU's their offense should succeed in this game. I like their rushing attack on offense, and then Kevin Jennings kind of plays a little bit of YOLO ball. I'll be honest, he kind of gets away with some balls, and his players or his receivers make plays. Rashard Smith is actually an excellent running back coming out of the backfield as well. But I think that that's the blueprint on offense for SMU to win this football game, and I think that they can do it, especially if Clemson has to kind of reach into their bag and pull out some second stringers or maybe even a third stringer. This Clemson defense gets noticeably worse as they go beyond the starters, and so if they have to reach into that bag at all, I think that SMU is going to exploit that. On the defensive side for SMU, I really like their front four. Elijah Roberts is an absolute problem on the D line, and really him all four of the guys, at least against the competition that they've faced so far, they've been a problem, and they really do a great job of kind of bull rushing. They're not that kind of finesse pass rush sort of front four, but a power rushing front four is really tough to stop. And going up against this Clemson offensive line that is probably better in a sense of where Clemson has been in recent years. But I don't think that they're like some great offensive line. They're not known as being some great offensive line, although they did hold South Carolina to just one sack. That was actually pretty impressive. So on the flip side, can South Carolina on offense block that front four? If they play like they did against South Carolina, I like their chances. But even in a down year for Clemson, this is going to be the best defense that SMU has faced this season by a lot.
Yeah.
As long as, like I said, as long as they can keep the starters in there, that's going to be key. So how does this SMU offense respond to the adversity of playing a tough team in Clemson in what is essentially a home game for them in Charlotte, North Carolina? They pretty much own that stadium. I mean, they don't lose very often in the ACC Championship game, and obviously Dabo's got the experience there. Some of these players have a little bit more experience in these football games. I'm starting to come around to the idea that Clemson could potentially pull off the upset here and win this game. To me, it comes down to the experience factor and the fact that SMU hasn't seen a team like Clemson all season long. This isn't 2018 Clemson. I get that, but there is still a gap to me between the teams that SMU has faced throughout the season and Clemson. And I like what Cade's been able to do with his legs here as of late. I think you see a little bit more design run and whatnot. But for me, I'm starting to come around on the idea that Clemson could actually win this football game. I was all SMU up here and up until recently, and now I'm starting to feel call it a vibe, call it a gut feeling, but I'm starting to feel like Clemson is going to be able to establish the lines of scrimmage here, and do a good enough job blocking SMU's front four. And on the flip side, that they got some absolute studs on defense, and I don't think that offensive line for SMU is going to be able to contain, TJ Parker, Peter Woods, and some of those guys on that defensive front. I think that those guys are going to eat in this one. And then let's not even get into the playoff talk at that point as far as what happens. We'll keep that for another show. I got Clemson in this one. I think it is going to be a close game, but I see Dabo Swinney holding his hands up at the end of this football game in a thriller. Give me Clemson by 3. I think the game goes under as well.
I would think that it would probably need to go under, right? If Clemson is wanting to win this thing, I feel like you would. As a Clemson fan, you're probably rooting for a lower scoring game that Clemson can kind of stay in control of. Because if this thing kind of gets out of control and SMU is scoring, in the 30s or 40s, I'm not sure that Clemson's able to keep up. So I think it makes total sense. Dabo has got this team right where they want to be. He's got a motivating edge on them. They just lost at home to their rival, and here they find themselves in a play-in to a chance for a national championship. That's what he's preaching to his kids, right? And I'm sure that they're believing it. They've got a chance to prove everybody wrong right here. They've got the athletes to do it. Mason, we've talked about this Clemson defense a lot this year, and they've got NFL players on it. They haven't played as a unit that great all year, game in and game out. We've seen glimpses where they have. We've seen glimpses where they've given up 30 over, several times this season. Now, some of that was whenever backups came in and trying to get guys, some playing time and things like that, young fellas. I don't know if you see the young fellas in this game, right? This isn't a situation where Clemson's going to be trying to get playing time. They're going for the dub here. They're going for the jugular. So it's a hard one to call, man. I'm going to stick with SMU just because that's where we've been the whole time, and I'm just gonna stick with it. You make compelling arguments for Clemson in this one, and SMU has not played anything similar to Clemson's defense all year. You're 100% correct on that. So this could be a bit of shell shock for SMU. Not to mention SMU, a lot of their success. I mean, they've had a lot of big games at home this year. This isn't going to be at home. Kind of like the Georgia-Texas situation. You've got Clemson going to a place in Charlotte that they're super familiar with. All the coaching staff, I mean, all these guys, a lot of them know what to expect when they get there and things like that. That stuff's underrated. Being able to get prepared for something like that, Dabo Swinney has got the check mark on his side for that one. So I'm going SMU. I really don't want the -2.5. I'd probably, just do SMU on the money line maybe if you're wanting to pick SMU. I don't know about those 2.5 there, trying to cover that. This one could come down to somebody missing an extra point or going for 2 or something like that. So I wouldn't even try to worry about that 2.5. Just pick one of these teams on the money line if you're going to bet it. Over under, if you think SMU is going to win, I'd pick the over. If you think Clemson's going to win, I'd pick the under here. Your guess is as good as mine on that one. We'll see you later on this week for the betting show here on First and Long College Football Show. Best of luck to your teams in Conference Championship Week.